Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Purushottama Vidya, Purushottama Yogam. Sloka 15, Part 4. Sarvasya cāhaṁ hṛdi sanniviṣṭo mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanaṁ ca vedaisya sarvair aham vedyo vedānta-kṛd veda-vid cāham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. We are learning about pramanams, the various ways by which one can derive knowledge of anything. In the previous section, we started understanding pratyaksha pramana. In that, we went over nirvikalpaka and savikalpaka. Nirvikalpaka is cognizing an object with its attribute for the first time, or it could be said even if it is 10th time if one has forgotten that they have seen this before. But when one remembers that they have seen this before, then that becomes savikalpakam. Now we have to learn about two types of pratyaksha. One is anarvachinam, another one is arvachinam. Anarvachinam, that knowledge which is never get created. Arvachinam is that knowledge which gets created. The second one, arvachinam, where the knowledge gets created, can be understandable, because if I am seeing something for the first time, the knowledge about that object is new to me. It gets created at that point. But how can there be someone who knows everything where the knowledge doesn't need to be created? In the case of anarvachinam. So, anarvachinam is a pratyaksham of muktatmas, nityatmas, and paramatma. Muktatmas are those who are liberated from this material world to the spiritual world. Nityatmas or nityasuris are those eternally present in the spiritual world, and Paramatma is the Supreme Lord. For them, there is nothing such as new knowledge that needs to get created, or knowledge that never get destroyed. Their knowledge has no limits. They are cognizant of everything, both that is there, that is not there. Things of past, things of present, and things of future. Therefore, their pratyaksham is anarvachinam. Whereas arvachinam, that knowledge which gets created, is for people like us who are called as baddhatmas, conditioned souls in this world. We cannot claim ourselves as knower of everything. We are not muktatma, we are not nityatma, of course we are not paramatma. But we can become muktatma, but never can become nityatma or paramatma. Therefore, the knowledge for us gets created as we come in contact with object, and that pratyaksham is known as arvachinam. This pratyaksham, arvachinam, is further classified into two types: indriya sapeksham and indriya nirapeksham. Indriya sapeksham means pratyaksham that which requires senses to cognize things. This is the pratyaksham that we human and other entities like cow, goat, horse, etc. has. we all can only see when we have eyes. We can only hear when we have ears. We can only taste when we have tongue. Again, what we said are the organs. When we said the organs as eyes, ears and tongue, the subtle elements are also included. Because just by having eyes, not necessary one can see things. Just by having ears, not necessary one can hear. And just by having tongue, not necessary one can taste and find the differences. This is salty, this is sweet, etc. They have to have the sense of taste. They need to have the sense of seeing, the sense of hearing, etc. Otherwise, just having these organs will not derive the knowledge of the object. When the senses come in contact with the sense object, that connection between them is required to develop the knowledge of that particular object, which is known as sanniviṣṭo, that connection between sense and the sense object. Without that connection, one will not be able to acquire the knowledge about the object. This sanniviṣṭo is of two types. One is samyogam and the other one is samyukta ashrayanam. Samyogam helps grasp the substance, dravyam, while samyukta ashrayanam helps grasp attributes of that substance. Say I see a pot. That means I have established, there is an establishment, sanniviṣṭo, between my eyes and the pot. And this sanniviṣṭo is samyogam, where I am able to grasp that it is a pot. That is samyogam. When grasping the pot, the attributes of the pots are also seen. It is round in shape. It is decorated with some paints. All these are that pot's attributes, and these attributes of the pots are depending on the pot, which is being seen along with the pot, and that is known as samyukta ashrayanam. So there are two sanniviṣṭas. One is samyogam, another one is samyukta ashrayanam. Samyogam is the grasp of the substance, and grasping of the substance along with the attributes it has is samyukta ashrayanam, because these attributes are completely depending on the object itself. So this is indriya sāpekṣam, where pratyakṣam, that requires senses to know things. Now let's learn about indriya nirapekṣam. Pratyakṣam, that which does not require senses, is called indriya nirapekṣam. This is just the opposite of what we just saw, that is indriya sāpekṣam. In indriya sāpekṣam, it requires the senses to be present to grasp things, whereas in indriya nirapekṣam, it doesn't require the senses. Now, within indriya nirapekṣam, we have two types. One is called swayam siddha, another one is called divya. One more time, we are seeing two types. One is swayam siddha, another one is divya. These are two types under indriya nirapekṣam. Indriya nirapekṣam is where one doesn't require senses to know things. Now let's see what is swayam siddham. Swayam siddha is that which is attained out of one's own effort. This is the pratyakṣam of sages, great sages who have practiced yoga. With that practice, they have attained a siddhi. power to see things without eyes. They can hear without ears. They can smell without nose, irrespective of the object's proximity. That is Swayam Siddham. It comes by their own practice, perfecting their yoga practice. Whereas Divyam, this is also Indriya Nirapeksham, which means one can know things without having the senses, and that Divyam is given by the Supreme Lord, Paramatma. For example, the divine sight that Krishna gave to Arjuna to behold his Vishvarupa, the universal form, is of type Divyam. Arjuna did not practice yoga like the previous one to obtain this vision, to see without the senses. Krishna said, Divyam dadami te chakshuhu. I will give you divine eyes by which you can see my universal form. Because with your present eyes, you will not be able to see the universal form. When Krishna said, I will give you a divine eyes, it is not that Krishna replaced Arjuna's existing set of eyes with another set which is an upgraded version of eyes. Krishna did not literally put or replace the eyes. We discussed this one in detail in chapter 11 verse 8. The eyes that we have can only see things of this world. Our eyes can only reach to certain limit. It is restricted by time and space. The universal form was unrestricted by time, space. So to see that, one cannot use this existing material eyes. The Lord has to reveal Himself to be seen, and that is done by the grace of the Lord, by bestowing that vision within Arjuna. Another example is Sanjaya. If we remember the very first sloka, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveda Yuyutsavaha, Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Sanjaya, sitting in Hastinapur, narrated the entire Kurukshetra war to Dhritarashtra. By the grace of Vedavyas, Sanjaya had this special eyes, where things happens to him sitting in a remote place as if live. Therefore we can see with these two examples, Arjuna and Sanjaya, they did not do any special yoga like great yogis to attain the siddhi of seeing things without eyes, touching things without hands, but they obtained this pratyaksham by the grace of the Lord. The Lord bestowed them with His ability to see not through the material eyes, to hear not through the material ears, but with the divine knowledge. So what we have seen is pratyaksham of two types. One is anarvachinam, where the knowledge never gets created. It exists all the time. And that is of Muktatma, Nityatma and Paramatma. Whereas the second type of pratyaksham is arvachinam, where the knowledge gets created. That is for the conditioned soul, like us. And this arvachinam is classified into two types, Indriya Sapeksham and Indriya Nirapeksham. Indriya Sapeksham means pratyaksham, which requires help of our senses, material senses, eyes, nose, ears, etc. Whereas indriya nirapeksham is where the pratyaksham does not require the senses to become cognizant of anything. And within that indriya nirapeksham, we saw two types, swayam siddha and divyam. Swayam siddham is attained by the great sages through the practice of yoga. So they don't require the senses to become cognizant of an object. Whereas divyam also the same, which does not require the senses, but this is not obtained through the practices of yoga like the sages. This is bestowed by the Supreme Lord to one whom he chooses to give, like in the case of Arjuna. So if we have to say the lakshanam of pratyaksham, lakshanam is the definition, the unique definition of pratyaksham, it is not that the knowledge which only obtained through the senses. The knowledge can be obtained without senses as well. Therefore, the lakshanam of pratyaksham is said sakshatkari vijñānam. It is direct experience. Now that we understood little more about pratyaksham, there are few other things which is inclusive of pratyaksham, which are smṛti, pratyabhiññā, abhavam. Smṛti means recollection of the past. Pratyabhiññā means it is also recollection of the past, but on the same object with no change. And abhava means absence of the object. We will learn about these three in our next session.
Namaste. Hare Krishna.